you ever read a chapter of the Bible that really just spoke to you and it was so personal that you felt like the message you were reading, even though it was a story about somebody long ago, like the Lord uses it to speak to us and convict us and just work with us and things? I was reading Romans, I believe it was 4 this morning, and it was speaking how Abraham's faith, he never wavered in his faith, and he trusted in God, and God counted it to him as righteousness. I want to have faith like Abraham. I have struggled on and off, even though God has always came through. I have never lacked. I've never went without. I lived in this city where it is so common for single moms and young women to be poverty stricken. It is so common. And yet the Lord has always had me in the palm of his hand. And he has always made sure that I never went without. I live in a city where it's hard to strive. And yet he has always been there. I haven't even rode the bus. There's a city bus and people ride it all the time. I deal with clients who have to count on the bus. And I say that to this. The Lord has always came through and has always been faithful. But why is it that I struggle in faith sometimes when God is never late. We hear that God is never late. He's always on time. But we live in a world where, it's instant gratification. And so we don't always get things that we want early. Sometimes God just shows up on time. He makes us sweat. He tests us to see, are we going to trust him? And this is what I've been living on for the past year and a half. He has always came through. Even when my bills were short, even when I was struggling, I didn't know where I was going to get a babysitter because one would back out. But you know what? God always came through. I always, somehow I was given a raise, or I was given an extra amount of money as a bonus, or one babysitter would be backing out. Another one would show up the day before I had to go to work, didn't know if I was going to be able to go to work, and something showed up. And so God has been faithful like that in my life, and I've seen his hand in it. But I say that because finance has been the hardest thing for me, and trusting him, and he's always been there to provide. And when I became a single mom again, this was something that I didn't want to struggle with, because a few years ago the Lord really took me through standing in faith. He had me quit my job, and many people would be like, yeah, God would never do that, but he sure did. And that's another testimony for another day. And I was faithful and obedient to that, and he came through, and I never had any lack at all. And it wasn't that I got on government assistance, because that wasn't even the case. He sent other obedient servants to help along the way, and they were thankful and excited to be able to do God's work. But anyways, but when he called me to step on in faith and step into digital marketing, and I had no idea what digital marketing was, it was really hard for me. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do it anyways, because I know when you had me step out in faith, as long as I take that faith and step out, you're going to meet me right there. So I did. And I'm so glad I did, because he showed me that he was going to use this as an opportunity to bless my life so I could be a stay-at-home mom. And it's a 2-hour workday. I had no idea this even existed, but my mind is blown that he has given me this opportunity to be able to stay home with my kids, but still make money, and make more money than what I'm making. He promised me an abundance when I moved here, because he had gave me dreams, and I shared it before. I was walking in the city in my dream, and I went to go cross the road, and I realized I didn't have any money. But as I began walking in faith, money appeared at my feet, and it was like humongous size coins. So he told me not only was he going to provide, but he's going to provide in abundance. But he is literally doing that. I stepped out in faith, and he's providing in this business, this 2-hour workday from my phone digital marketing business, in abundance. $300 a day or more. That's over $100,000 a year. Let's think about all the things that you can do right where you're at with $100,000 a year, because many of us aren't living life like that. If you're like me and you trust God and you struggle in faith, but you know God has called you to step out in faith in something, whether it's doing something different for work, stepping out completely blind and just trusting him with something you don't know. He's been speaking to you about, oh, you've been asking me to be a stay-at-home mom, or you've been asking me to retire early, or you've been asking me to lighten up your load at work, but I've been praying for something else, and you're thinking you would like to do digital marketing, or at least know more about it. let's chit chat, because if the Lord can turn the world upside down and bless my life with this, you are no different. I am not that great of a person. I'm just, the Lord's working with me on my faith, and I'm trying to be obedient to it. And I'm trying to teach my kids faith to God and stepping out in obedience to Him. And so if you're like me and you're praying and you keep seeing things, you're like, Lord, you're probably sending me to do this, but I'm scared to death, but you're going to do it anyways. You and I need to chat. I'll hook you up. I'll tell you about it. I can explain a little bit more as to our workday and make a few pieces of content. On TikTok, I copy and paste on a high traffic website, which it teaches everything, so you can know nothing. You can come into digital marketing absolutely know nothing. We walk you through making your own money, 100% profit. It's not an MLM. You don't pay monthly fees. You don't even have to leave your house. You can be in your pajamas. You don't even have to show your face. We walk you through and show you everything, but it's extra money. It's great money. So I'm here if you want to talk.